All right, guys, so now it's time to go over your pop quiz answers. So some of these we're not going to go over in detail because you've already read about them, and this is to check to see if you have understanding. So as we look at this, every single one, like here, okay, the answer number one is C. We have B, D, B, A. 6 we are going to go over. I'm about to explain to you right now what the answer is to that, but we're going to go through and just some of the ones that I feel like you should have gotten, and if you didn't, you need to go back and you need to read your Constitution prediction chart, and you need to make sure that you're completing that and finishing that up. But these will give you things that you need to be on the lookout for as you begin to take this pop quiz. I mean, as you begin to prepare for our unit exam. All right, so you should have checked those. Now, here we go. Again, 9, 11, and 12, we will be going over the answers. We have the answers for, you can pause this video at any time so you can get the correct answer. 15 and 21. 27. And finally, we're going to get the answers to the last two. Okay, make sure you write these out so you can review. Now, when we talk about Congress, Congress is made up of two branches. One is the House of Representatives, and its membership is based off the state population and has a total of blank representatives, while the Senate is comprised of blank total members, 2 from each state. All right, this is a capped, and then of course the answer is 435 and 100. All right. Now, this is the legislative branch. This is what the House of Representatives is made of. It is currently in 2016, the House of Representatives have 190 Democrats to 245 Republicans. And of course, the legislative branch is sometimes called Congress. Now, this compromise made by the founders on the issue left a terrible burden for future generations. While the Constitution was created, you know there were a number of compromises. Well, one compromise that had to be made was over the issue of, if you said slavery, you would have been correct. Okay, we know that the issue of slavery is going to be a continued issue, which will eventually set the foundation for the Civil War. Next, now this is important as we're going through the Constitution, and that's the we the people in order to form a perfect union, which we know the government, the Constitution, gives its powers from us. This group was concerned that without a strong national government, anarchy would triumph. Remember we said the story of Goldilocks for the Constitution. We have the king, too strong, Articles of Federation, too weak. Well, we were looking for that just right. But this group, while the Constitution was created, of course, was the Federalist. Anti-Federalists, on the other hand, would only ratify the Constitution if this was added. They wanted to ensure that individual rights were protected, and that is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution known as the Bill of Rights. Now, these are your Bill of Rights. These are things that they felt like needed to be protected. Again, very similar to the English Bill of Rights. All of the checks and balances. We know the basic definition of checks and balances is to ensure that one branch does not have too much power. So all of the following are checks and balances of the legislative branch over the executive branch, except, of course, veto power. All right, the legislative branch cannot veto the executive branch. It would actually be the other way around. The legislative branch can impeach the president. They can override presidential vetoes, and they have the action to collect taxes and allocate federal funds. 17. All the following are checks and balances of the legislative branch over the judicial branch, except, okay? And of course, the legislative branch calling one or both of houses into Congress in emergency session. The legislative branch cannot do this. That is actually a power of the executive branch over the legislative branch. Which of the following is the checks and balances of the executive branch has over the judicial branch? The executive branch, president, judicial branch, Supreme Court. This would be to appoint federal judges or the pardon power, meaning that if the Supreme Court declares something, the president can still pardon an individual for something they may have done. All presidents have done this. The checks and balances of the judicial branch over the legislative branch and executive branch are here. Here is the simple power of the judicial branch. It is known as judicial review, meaning the president does something. The judicial branch, the Supreme Court, looks at the Constitution and says, ooh, you can do that, or ooh, you cannot do that. The legislative branch passes a law. The judicial branch says, ooh, you can do that. Ooh, you can't do that. That is their job, to determine whether or not an action, a law, or anything done by the executive branch or the judicial branch is constitutional, or the legislative branch is constitutional or unconstitutional. Of course, the big emblem, symbolism for the Supreme Court, guys, is this bad boy right here, the scale, okay? The scale. Rule of law coming to that ideology. No one is above the law. The founders created a constitution that would adapt for the future through adding amendments. Okay, they knew that the Constitution was going to be an alive document, a living document. And of course, this is what set the stage for it. We can now amend the Constitution. This gives Congress, aka the legislative branch, the right to make all necessary and proper laws. Okay, this would be known as the elastic clause. Elastic is like a rubber band. It can do what? Stretch. So the necessary and proper clause, aka the elastic clause, allows the legislative branch to do what with its powers? Expand. This prohibits government from utterly interfering with the freedom of religion. There's something known in the First Amendment, known as the Free Exercise Clause. Okay, freedom of religion. This is something that is specifically stated in the Constitution. This extends the Bill of Rights protection to include all levels of government. This is known as incorporation. We are incorporating it into society. We are incorporating into what we think. Now, you looked at an image. State and national governments share the power to levy taxes and coin money. That's wrong. That should say establish courts. Got to move that one. All right. According to the Constitution, state and national government share these powers. It's that chart that you've been looking at. All right. That's wrong again. It should say concurrent. Let's fix that. "25 should say establish courts. 26 should say that. All right, we all make mistakes. If a power is reserved, meaning all powers delegated to the Constitution are specified in the Constitution or stated for the federal government. Anything not mentioned is reserved for the state governments. Okay? It is reserved for the state governments. If a power is concurrent, who has the power? Of course, the answer is both. Now we're done, guys. Make sure you look over this. You understand all of these, everything that is going on. And make sure that if you have any questions, you please let me know. And remember to smile.